6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Happy New Year! I still toot.
Yeah, woohoo! Yoo-hoo!
Tootje.
Ik sta blauw uit. Yoo-hoo!
Yeah, nice.
Mga Pilipina po sa Pilipinas.
What do you want? Oh, that was cute. Say it again.
Pinaka nakakapagpagabagabag ng damdamin.
Pinaka nakakapagpagabagabag.
Mali.
Kapag sasabihin mo ng damdamin, pinaka nakakapagbagabag.
Ano pinaka nakakapagbagabagab?
Pinaka nakakapagpabagabag.
Pinaka nakakapagpagabagab.
Pinaka nakakapagpagababag.
Towards serving in the church.
Where we at? Market Light. Wow.
welcome back to my first vlog.
And that was it.
Yep, see ya. Bye, guys.
So that was 2 weeks in 8 minutes. So it was a bit too long. I really tried to thin it down, but it was a bit hard. We left on the 1st of January. And I don't know why, but I went to the airport and I thought it was a 4-hour flight. And then it felt like a 12-hour flight. It was an 8-hour flight. But yeah, the poor child and his mother behind us, there wasn't really much we could do. I think Rejoice stayed awake, but I fell asleep. Yeah, it was early in the morning, so that was good. So my name is Gloria.
And my name is Rejoice.
And we went on the Philippines missions trip with Cameron. He is there. He just shared an tithes and offerings, and we were with Alan and his wife, Cynthia, and the whole family. Alan and Cynthia go every Christmas, every December, January. It's their mission. It's their, cause. Their project is to go and help and support this church in the Philippines that they've really helped to grow. And we're very impressed with what we saw there. I've been on many missions trips, and so has Rejoice. And Cameron's been to the Philippines before as well. And this was just a really, really, really fun missions trip. So let's start with that. It was a very fun missions trip, and we loved it a lot. It was a great way to start the year 2020.
Yeah. And so last year we'd heard from the Philippines trip in 2019, and we're so excited. We'd heard about all that they were doing, and we were inspired to go. And the reason why I decided to go was because we had started the transformation series, and one of the first weeks we were asked to set goals. I'm going to be real honest with you. I set 3 goals and I completed one of them. And that was to go on to make sure that I go on a mission trip at least like every year, one every year, while I'm young, while I'm, me.
Technically you went in 2020.
Yeah, but...
Not 2019. But that's all right.
But that's... So I didn't accomplish any goals. Yay, thanks. No, but yes, it was so exciting. There were some times where I was doubting whether I should go or not because I'm still in uni. I work 2 days a week, and financially I needed a lot of help, and we're working jobs and we're fundraising. But I am grateful that my finances didn't become a reason why I didn't go on a mission trip, because God makes a way.
So I work here in the office here for Pastor Phil, and Cynthia works here too. And all year she was nudging me, hey, you should come to Philippines. We need some young people. And I didn't want to go to Philippines in the first place. Like before 2019, I felt like I could go anywhere, but Philippines wasn't top of the list. But Cynthia was there, and I really wanted to do a trip with my sister. We'd both been to other countries, and I really wanted to do one with Rejoice. So this one seemed like the most obvious choice to go together. We were both free in that time. It was both our holidays, and this trip was just the perfect one. It's not as expensive as the other trips, and yeah, it just worked out really, really well. So what we're going to share on today is our sermon is called Mission Possible. We thought we'd just relax a bit and sit down. But it's called Mission Possible because we believe that every single person here has the capability, and has everything they need to go on a missions trip. And we want to encourage every single one of you to do so, to pick somewhere. It doesn't even have to be overseas. There's other states, there's Cranbourne, or even just going out for a week to somewhere in Victoria to share and help. We really encourage you to go and experience helping out in another church, helping out with all the ministries they do, but taking the time out of what you do normally to go and do a missions trip. Our lives are so much better for the trips that we've been on, and it's just such a great thing to do.
And it's really good too because it's a really big bonding experience for the team that you go with. You come back and you remember, hey, I shared my first communion message and this person was with me. You have a lot of in-jokes, but you just become so much closer with the people that you left with. You come back with a bigger family because you meet so many people overseas, but also with your church people that you went with. It's such a blessing when you come back and you're just like, hey, remember when we did this? And it's encouraging, yeah.
I think definitely we are quite young, and growing up, it seems like a huge thing to go overseas. To go overseas in itself, it seems like a huge thing that, oh, how am I going to get the money? How am I going to do these things? But we want to say today that the mission is possible, that God will make a way when you put your heart to it and when you decide that you want to do this. So as a part of our vision, as a part of the theme for this year, that is Vision 2020 vision, and the first term focusing on aligning with God, the word align, we wanted to go through the theme verse for align, just to share our heart, because we really believe that when you align yourself with God, when you sacrifice your own plans and choose, I'm going to take God's plan for me, then things just really fall into place. And we had testimony to that, especially even in this trip where we didn't really have a grand plan on what was going to happen, but we just said, you know what, God, we're just going to trust you, and we just want you to take control in this area of our life, especially in missions, because we just love doing missions. We love going overseas, seeing different cultures and helping in the ministry there. So the theme verse of Align, does anybody know it? Oh, A+, Mum and Dad. Good job, Pastor Norma. Yes, it's Colossians 2, verse 6 to 7. Why don't we read together? It says, so then, just as you received Christ Jesus as Lord, continue to live your lives in him, rooted and built up in him, strengthened in the faith as you were taught, and overflowing with thankfulness. So this is our theme verse for the first term of the year. And it's such a rich verse. Like, there's so much in there that we can take from these verses. Sorry, there's 2 verses. And so the first main part we're going to focus on is just that part there that says, continue to live your lives in him.
Yeah, one of the things that stood out to me when we were going through this verse is that it says, continue to live your lives in him. It doesn't mean start your whole life again because you just accepted Christ. No, it means to build on what you have. Do better if you need to do better in different areas of your life. But you don't have to start from scratch because, we have talents that we grow outside of church. And when we come to church, it doesn't mean we put them aside and grow the ones, oh, maybe God's got worship for me. No, we build on the ones that we have. And we encourage other people in their ones too. Continue to live your lives in him. Yeah.
In that, when we went to the Philippines, Cameron would always play basketball with all the boys, and the boys would come over, and we love to play basketball. We love to see people playing sports here. I love to see. I can't knit. I would love to knit. We'd love to see people knit things here. We want all types of talents to be used, just as Cameron shared about the story of the talents. We encourage to use every single talent. There's no such thing as a really big talent as a really small talent, because, we have people who can sing up there, but they might not be able to, read as well as you do or write as well as you do. Poetry, God's gifted each and every one evenly.
It was funny because I was sharing about how, when we come to serve in the church, God doesn't want our circumstances to be perfect. He just wants us to be willing to serve. And so I used the example of, I love worship, I love singing and playing the guitar. And so that is what I would do. If there's an opportunity for me, I'll go for it. But my talent isn't in cooking. And so they took that as a challenge to try and teach me to cook while I was there. So the photos that you saw, they were actually like, oh, here, hold the knife like this, cut the onions like this. That was really funny. I didn't want to tell them, oh, I know how to cut onions, but it was cool to see them teach me to grow my talent. So if you do want to learn something, find someone who knows about it and learn from them. We don't just learn from our pastors and elders.
with continuing to live your lives in Him, I was really encouraged that, you know, everything kind of flows out from when we focus on Jesus, when we just make that first decision that, okay, I want to do this for you, Lord. You know, help me in those ways. And as we just take each step by step, then everything flows out of that. I think Josie said this once, but, you know, there's a reason why they're called the fruit of the Spirit. You know, love, joy, peace, and stuff, all those things. They're fruit because a tree doesn't, like, mentally try and grow fruit, you know? They don't just, like, bleh, and then an apple, you know? It's just a tree, and the fruit is just the outcome of the tree growing, you know? As we continue to live our lives in here, missions and serving and ministry is just an outcome of choosing to live for Jesus. So we just have some photos here that just show something about going on the Philippines. Someone that we've always been asked, you know, it looked like just a holiday. All the posts that we posted on Facebook, it looked like just a holiday, you know. But that's the blessing of going to another country, is that everything's a lot cheaper. So you got to make the most of it, okay? So we did go ATV riding. That was lots of fun. Joyce really loved this part. She said, I'm going to mentally think about it. I'm kidding. Picture this. Yeah, we had lots of fun. We got to bless other people as well. What's something really great about the church that we supported, so it's called CMGO Cabanatuan City Church, and they do like so many outreaches on the Sunday. So what happens is they meet for a Sunday service in the morning, and then they hang out all together at the church for lunch, and then at about 3 o'clock they all start leaving to about 5-6 different outreaches in the area, and it was so cool to see those things. So I went on this outreach with to Libis with my friends Jazz, Eloy and Isaac, and straight after we're just like, let's go to 7-Eleven and get ice cream. Those ice creams were like 80 cents. It was so good. So I was like, I'll shout.
What flavour were they?
It was ube, which I think is taro? Yeah, taro. It was so good though. I was quite worried with things that I didn't want to be too obvious, like yuck, that's disgusting. But that was really yum. That was really yum. And their 7-Eleven is so much better than here. And then on the Monday night we had an outreach to all the kids, and then we decided to invite all the people who came out to the outreach over to ours. That's like our little room. Miriam and Joyce, that's where we stayed. And because they all came, they cooked rice before they came, and they brought a roast chicken, and we grabbed out everything we could find. I think that lunch we had hot dogs and chips, but we couldn't finish it. So we had like 5 hot dogs and chips, cold chips, but we grabbed out every snack that we could find, and we put it on the tiny little table, and we just all ate, and it was such a fun night. We taught them heaps of games, and they keep telling us they keep playing those games today. Yeah, so that was lots of fun in that. Mission trips are lots of fun, and it's a blessing to meet other people. It's a blessing to bless other people and serve other people. And yeah, so the next part of the verse is
rooted and built up in Him. And so one of the things that I love doing is calling everyone sis, bro, cuz, because when I come to church, we're all family. So I'm not going to call you, some like pastors, elders, I'll call you by, you know, your name, pastor. But you are my brothers and sisters. And the best thing about church is we do not have to go this alone. God doesn't call that for us. God calls us to be in communion with each other, to do life together. And for us to be the strongest that we can be, it means that we have to be rooted and built up in God. We can't do it alone, because we will shrivel up, we will get tired, and we'll eventually fall away, which is not what we want. We want everyone to thrive together. And so, just like that verse says, rejoice with those who rejoice and weep with those who weep. If you're sad about something, let's be sad together and let's get through it together.
Let's get ice cream.
Yeah, let's get ice cream together. If you're happy about something, let me know, and let's hype each other up. Let's celebrate our wins, and let's hype each other up when we aren't winning. Yes, with ice cream.
I really love this image of a tree, and just in here, I think that's so important that it literally says rooted and then built up in him. And just having our roots firmly planted, especially coming from here, Turning Point Cranbourne, having our roots firmly planted means that our branches can grow further. The further your roots are in the ground, the further you can grow, the higher you can grow, the bigger you become. And so I'm just so encouraged that when we are planted here, when we take the time to be trained and learn here and come to the services, read our Bibles, join the connect groups and, fellowship together, that gives us, honestly, that is what gives me the energy to go on a missions trip and to encourage and to serve and to minister to others. Psalms 1 is what comes to mind, like the tree planted by the water, doesn't matter where I go, I know that I'm planted here in Turning Point Cranbourne, and everything that I learn from here is what I will give out there. So, if you think you're not sure about missions, I can tell you what you need to do here. It all starts here, really, and it all starts in what you're doing already here in the church. And I encourage you that as you just grow your roots deep here, missions is just another thing that you could just do. It's not super hard anymore.
And so we were really blessed. We got to visit a few of Cynthia and Alan's friends. And this couple here, they started, it's like a really healthy place. And so for those of you who know me, know that I do not like lettuce. I love tomatoes. But this place, everything is organic. They grow everything. And it's just such a beautiful place. Everything, it comes back to, God. This is God's creation, so we're going to take care of everything that we have. So everything that we grow is organic. It's so good, such a beautiful place. And we got to meet this beautiful couple, and they decided to
get us to plant a tree.
Yes, but they called it Gloria's avocado.
I did most of the work. I mean, God.
I was going to get my hands dirty.
That was really cool because if you go to the Philippines, you eat a lot of rice and chicken. A lot of rice and a lot of chicken. And this was like a breath of fresh air, just going out to some rural area into a farm, and she didn't bring out any rice. It was just lettuce. And she's like, we put the meat in the lettuce, and Rejoice was dying, but she did really well.
I love meat. Lettuce, yeah.
It was cool.
And so this was our team for the youth conference that we went to, and it was such a blessing to really learn and see how they do their youth leadership, how they hang out with their youth. And so it was really good hearing some of the stories. A lot of their youth leaders were once people that just stumbled in and came to their youth camp. And so Princess, she was telling me stories about how they used to come in their same outfit every week because they didn't really have many clothes, but they came and they continued to come, and they became rooted in that group. They had a place in that group where they were able to grow, and now they are leading the youth, and it's so exciting to see.
I love that a tree has so many different purposes, that it's shade for people to come and shelter. It's food, the fruit that it produces. And then it's also protection, the wood. There's so many different uses of a tree. Birds come and nest in it. It's a home. And, when we saw this church, they've done just so well in being a shelter and being a place where people can be nurtured and grow. There's a girl there standing right next to me being super weird. But I know she comes from a non-Christian family, but her cousins are leaders in the church, and one just invited her. And she's always telling me, I've never had a family like this family that I have at church. And that's why I always come back, because I love this family and this family loves me. And this is why I feel at home here. And then this was just another outreach one of the outreaches that we went to. Those books were actually from here, and they were just so blessed. Some of the girls are wearing jewelry and they loved it. They were so excited. And they all said, "Thank you, Gloria," and I took the credit.
Everyone was pretty shocked that I was the younger one, because I was a lot more quiet. And I'd talk with the older people, and Gloria would be out with the young people. I was like, I'm all right with that. But yes, and so after rooted up and built in Him.
Awesome. So we have strengthened in the faith as you were taught. So one of the things that strengthens my faith a lot is meeting other people that love Jesus. I've said this plenty of times, but growing up in the Samoan church that we grew up in the Islander church that we grew up in, I literally only thought, that my family was the only family that believed in God. As a child, that's what I thought, because the church we went to when we left, it kind of fell apart. So I thought, oh, they're not true believers. And then I thought, only our family's true believers. Everybody does it different. But Hillsong's from the devil and everything's from the devil, and we're the only true believers. But when we walked into Turning Point, I was mind blown that, other people believed in Jesus and the same Jesus that we believe in. And it's just so encouraging to me to see Filipinos believe in Jesus. Africans believe in Jesus. There are thousands of people around the world that believe in the same Jesus that we believe in. And they're walking the same life that we are walking, even worse. People can't even come out for church, can't say the name of Jesus. Like, we're blessed here. So that's what I love about going on missions trip, is to see, I just can't help but love being around people that love Jesus and then worshiping with them and serving with them. I just want to join in every single thing that they do.
And one of my favorite parts of this verse is it says, as you were taught. We can't give from a place where we haven't received. For me to go out and teach on something that I haven't gone through, or I, haven't been taught properly, is one, going to stir them away from God, but two, is just going to make me look like a hypocrite. So when we share, we make sure that, I don't need to share from what maybe Pastor Norma's shared about, because I have my own testimony. And however it may look like, the Holy Spirit is the one who will bring out the words for it to need what it needs to be to the person I'm sharing to, if that makes sense. We need to make sure that we have first received from God before we give out. Because if we're not receiving from God, then we're taking from ourselves. And what we're not going to share about ourselves, we're going to share about God everywhere that we go, whether it be overseas or not. So I encourage you, if you're finding it a bit hard to hear from God here, practice. Practice on the people around you. And if it works, great. If it's a bit off, that's all right too. It means you keep going. But yeah, definitely, let's give from a place where we have received from God.
So do Cert 3, Cert 4 Bible School. Sounds good.
Yes.
So this was a Pastors and Leaders seminar that we ran. And this was probably like the climax of our... Everything was kind of building up to this moment, because the speakers were me, Rejoice, Cameron, and then another couple of speakers from the Philippines. But, we were a lot worried, and a bit intimidated that, we're teaching pastors and leaders, We are leaders here at church, but we're like, oh, pastors, like, oh my goodness. And we worked really hard towards this one, but it was definitely a huge highlight for the whole trip. It worked out so well. And the theme of the seminar was connecting generations. So I ran a worship elective, not really an elective, we ran the whole sessions. I ran a worship session, Rejoice did youth leadership, and Cameron did kids leaders, and it went so well. Everyone was so impressed. We were impressed. But it was all God, we really put it to God. We had training before we came. We definitely knew 6 months before we got there, where we're speaking and what we're speaking about. So we knew it. We just had to really ask God, what do you want us to share to these people? And, they had so many questions. And, it's about sharing what you already know. You don't need to go and be like some amazing, well-read, Bible schooled pastor. It's about sharing what you do and what you have. And that's, the kid who brought 5 loaves and 2 fishes, that became so much more. And I think that's how we felt on that day.
Yeah. And so this was the baptism that we had at the end of our youth conference. And it was just amazing to be a part of that. I think we ended up baptizing roughly 13 kids each.
Yes.
And
we
that
split
was,
into two.
you know,
it was 26 kids altogether.
I learnt what to do from all the baptism services we had here. And
Yeah,
it is
it was-
a lot more pressure when you're asking the question, because I'd found that sometimes I'd ask a question, but it'd come out like, do you love Jesus? Accept him. Like something like that.
Yeah.
And so I would be like, oh man, next time.
And
But-
also, like, the kids, they didn't fully speak English. They
Yeah.
knew some English, but we were just like, do you love Jesus?
And so everything we do, every service that we run here, like I was like channeling my inner Pastor Norma. I was like, Pastor Norma looks confident when she does this. I'm gonna do this too. I can do it. But yes, it's just amazing. It was amazing.
It was funny. We were laughing this whole youth camp because on many trips that we go to, Pastor Norma says to, well, what's the words again? Something and wait. Hurry up and wait. And we found that, you know, in Africa, in Papua New Guinea, everything's like an hour, 2 hours late. But at this youth camp, for some reason, everything was like 20 minutes early. So we're running after, like, what's going on? It's like, oh, we're going to baptize them now. Like, me? I'm not even ready. Like, I'm not even wearing clothes to get in the pool. So we just had to jump in and do it. And we just had to jump in and baptize these kids who were so eager. And they did so well. They were so excited. And I know that there was a girl here that got baptized. Her name is Marjorie, and she was on Rejoice's team. She's definitely one of my favorites. But she hadn't really been going often to church, just her older sister. Her older sister's the one who was braiding my hair in the video. And her older sister's very regularly going to the church, but her older sister's been praying for her family to come to know Christ as well. And Marjorie got baptized then and then decided to come to the Sunday service after, and she hasn't not come to a Sunday service since. And I've been messaging her, and she said, I wrote this poem about Jesus. Do you want to read it? And I was like, yeah. She's like, oh, it's in Tagalog. And so she sent it to me all in Tagalog, and I just threw it through Google Translate. And it's just the most beautiful poem that, you know, I love Jesus. You know, Jesus, you've given me everything. Jesus, I'm so grateful for you. I'm so excited to change my life now. I'm absolutely turned around and I'm not looking back, because Jesus, you are everything. Not just that, her brother's been coming to church, and on the last service, their cousin's husband came into the service. Honestly, I thought he was sleeping the whole time. I was preaching. He was sitting at the back with his eyes closed, and he's so much taller than everyone else. He's just leaning on the wall like this. But at the end of the service, he came, and this man said, you know, I have 5 brothers that died from aneurysms suddenly. And he's just been living with the torment that his brain is going to explode. Just one day it's just going to explode, and he's just trapped in that. So I prayed for breakthrough for him, and I know Cynthia prayed for him as well. And then I said, you know, has he received Christ? And he hadn't at that point. So I said, receive Christ. We gave him our Bible. We gave him some verses. You know, Jesus sets us free. Perfect love sets you free. You know, there's no longer fear in your life. You know, verses like that. And then they've started a Bible study at that house. And he's there, and Marjorie's whole family goes to this Bible study, and they've been doing it weekly. So that's just what encourages me. You know, that's being strengthened in the faith, you know, just by sharing. So that's one of just my favorite stories from there. And then this is Cameron and Aldrin. There were lots of young adults there, which was probably one of my favorite parts when I went to Africa. It was very formal, and you had to, you know, always be ready for like a church service and stuff. But in the Philippines, it was a bit more casual, not in a bad way. That's just how it is. And there are plenty of young adults for us to just spend time with and have fun with. So that's what I loved, seeing lots of young adults who were, you know, just as eagerly as we do here, serving in the church. And the last one we have.
And overflowing with thankfulness. This trip, 2019 had just started off as a really weird year for me, because coming into the year, you know, I know what I'm going to do for the year. I've like got a plan. Like I obviously going to follow God's plan, but I know everything I'm going to do. You know, I'm going to do uni, going to do this, going to do that, going to work. 2019, I wasn't sure about anything. But this trip, it just kind of, I don't know the word, but it helped, it kind of stabilized me for this next year. 2019, I was a bit like anxious about everything. But this trip, I was thankful for this opportunity because it helped me stabilize myself for this next year coming. It reminded me that, you know what, in all my humanness, God is going to be the one that works through me, and I just have to let that happen and not be worried about anything. And so I'm just thankful. I'm so thankful to Alan and Cynthia and the family. Yes.
So I love thankfulness, and I love that it finishes with this. Sometimes we take being thankful for granted, and I think that it's in these two verses, just the fact that it's there, it's so important. In Psalms it says to enter his gates with thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is so important, and it's a powerful tool if we are always thankful. And going on missions trips, you need to be thankful. You know, it's not comfortable all the time. I don't know. There's so many differences in culture that you'll just have to just get over. You know, they're so different to Australian culture. You're just going to have to make do. I remember my first night in Africa, I actually cried in my room. But I cried because it was a bit uncomfortable, but my heart was like, God, please don't let me be uncomfortable, because I know that you have a great plan in me being here. I don't like this feeling of feeling like this is weird, this is uncomfortable. You know, let's always have that thankfulness. And it's so encouraging to me to, when I'm feeling down, when I'm feeling a little anxious, is to look and say, you know, thank you, God, that I'm alive today. Thank you, God, that I'm breathing. And you think of all the things that you're thankful for, and it really changes your perspective. So some of the funny things that we saw was these tricycles. Oh, we are so much more bigger than Filipinos. And they can fit like 20 on there. And we're like, if we're going on one, we all have to go on separate ones. And it was super worrying, like, oh my goodness, this is so embarrassing. And they're all watching you climb in. They make comments like it's nothing, like, oh, look at Rejoice. Oh. One of the, when we went to the night market for the young adults, we got a good parking spot. But when we came back out, everyone was parked behind us and around us. And so we were like, oh no, we need to wait. You know, what are we going to do? And the two girls that we were traveling with, they just decided to move every tricycle that was around here. So they were going slowly about it, just moving these tricycles. And so I'm like, oh, we can't just stand here. I'll just try and help. But there were motorcycles and tricycles, so we're trying to move them. And we're like, oh, this is so heavy. And Rejoice just comes. And with one finger, she just lifts up the whole motorcycle like it's nothing. And so they have never let that story down. They went and told the whole church, and they're like, every time something needs to be lifted, it's like, oh, Rejoice, oh, Maui, oh. So it's uncomfortable, but you get used to it. After the youth camp was a very, very full-on 3 days. And I don't know if you can see it on my face. You can go to the next one, but we were dead. Cynthia had this beautiful idea to go get massages, and it was only like $5, I think, for like a half an hour massage, which is cool, but we're not ones to get massages. We're very ticklish, like really ticklish. And I'm pretty sure I got bruised, but only because I was tense the whole time. Like someone was touching me, I was like this. And it hurt me the next day, but that's okay. It was part of the adventure, and we really needed that kind of relaxing time afterwards. People that we're really, really grateful for. So on the Sunday night, the last Sunday we were there, we were meant to travel on Monday. Well, Monday was our rest day, and then Tuesday we were leaving. So they all decided to take us out for dinner. The Kiambaos had a family event to go to, so we were in their great hands, capable hands. It was a very humid day, and it was like the end of our trip. So everyone was crazy, everyone was hyper, but we had such a fun time. I don't know if you saw in the video, but they started to sing this farewell song in the middle of this huge park with lights, and then Rejoice had led Waymaker in the service, and they loved that song. They loved Waymaker, and Rejoice did a little ad-lib that was like, Waymaker. And so in the middle of the park, they started singing Waymaker in a big circle to us over and over again. Everyone trying to hit the notes that Rejoice was hitting and laughing about it. So we are just so grateful for the kindness, their compassion and their love for us was just so immense. And I feel that every country that I go to, especially third world countries that don't have much, but they give you so much. I don't think what we give is not more than what they give to us. It's definitely either equal or they give more because they don't have that much. And we were just so blessed by each and every one of them, the ones that taught us to cook. The funny thing about this picture was we all said farewell. It was quite emotional. But the next day, some volcano erupted and they didn't have school. Well, actually, we went home and some of them followed us home, hung out with us for another hour, said bye again, another emotional farewell. And then the next day, we were like, we can sleep in, it's fine. And then they knock on our door at like 8 in the morning and they're all like, we don't have school, we come to hang out with you. And I'm like, but we said bye already. And then that night we went to the shops and more people came to come say bye again. So we're very grateful for our friends there.
And we just so incredibly grateful for Tita Bill and her family. And Tito Amil.
Yeah.
Yes. And
that's
so
auntie and uncle.
Yeah, auntie and uncle, Cynthia's sister, and they hosted us for the times that we weren't in Hunter Valley, but they were such a blessing. Everything that we needed, we did not go without anything.
Yeah.
They were like, what food do you want to eat? We will cook it. Whatever you want, we will make it happen. And we all got bottles with our faces on it.
Oh, yeah.
With our names on it. It was such a blessing. We were so blessed to be with Cynthia and Alan's family.
Yeah. Cynthia's very popular in the Philippines. Yes. You'll have no problem in the Philippines because Cynthia and Alan know everyone. Yeah. Well, we were more in Cynthia's city rather than Alan's city. So I'm sure if we were in Alan's city, but we were stopped at the shops and everything. Oh, this is Cynthia's uncle. Oh, this is Cynthia's sister. Oh, this is my friends from way back. Like, wow. We're super grateful to the CMGO Cabanatuan Church. All that they do there is amazing. And I don't know if you heard this morning, but Cynthia said that she went back to share on procedures, on policies and things like that, structure for the church. That's our only encouragement for their church is just a bit more structure. But they're doing so much as well. Pastor Julieta and her family, they lead the church. But the amazing thing is, it's not super amazing. But what happened was Pastor Julieta's husband passed away. He was the pastor of the church. He passed away suddenly. I think it was a heart attack. And they were in a lot of grief for a couple of years. And then they decided, well, we need to get something going with this church. We still have this church to lead. So they were just suddenly thrust the leadership of this church. And from then on, they've just grown it. And it's taken a lot of sweat, blood and tears, and they do so well, but they have really grown a beautiful family there that I encourage each of you all to visit. Who else are we thankful for?
Yeah, we just like to take this moment to thank Alan and Cynthia. You guys really took us in as your family. Everywhere we went, they made sure that we were all right. We were all right with everything. Even leading up to it, they're like, have any questions, let us know. You need this. And it was so much easier for us to really come in and just share with people because you guys had given us that confidence that, we can do this. And you'll find that when you go on mission trips, you guys will help hype each other up. You guys become so much closer as a family, whether you go to the Philippines or another country. Thank you so much.
The kids, Nathan, Grace, and Andrea, they were the best. They were super helpful in helping us to understand small things, understand what do you call it, cultural kind of traditional things, ways to sit and stuff like. They translated for us as well, and if anything happened, we just hide behind them. We're just like, Nathan, help us. Yeah. So our little siblings, so it's so cool, yeah.
And we just want to thank Cameron as well. It was so good going with you on the flight there. we did have a really loud baby behind us, but Cameron just pulled out his phone and he was like, "Oi, Joyce, take a look at this, learn these." It was some notes that he'd taken down from the last time he was there. He'd written down a few of the words that he was taught and had the translation for them, and I was so encouraged by that. But especially as well, right before I was going to preach on the Sunday sermon, I was really anxious, and I wasn't, I was like, you go and you're ready to share, but there's just like just a little bit in you that's like, how's this going to go down? We're in our bus, and Cameron pulls out his phone again. He's like, "Oh, bro, read this." And it was just this Bible verse. It was such an encouragement to me. I was like, yes, thanks, Cameron. I can do this. I thank you so much, Cameron. It was such a blessing going with you and hanging out with you. And it's good to know that you know what the goat looks like. Ask him about that story.
Ask him about that story. Last but not least, we want to thank every single one of you in supporting us, in your prayers for us. I know we ran a couple fundraisers. There were people who even blessed us personally to go overseas, and we're just so grateful for every single one of you. So please go on a trip so that we can bless you back. So yeah, we finish on Mission Possible. It is possible for every single one of you to go on a missions trip, especially if we've done it, then you can do it more. If you're going on holidays somewhere, I encourage you, research what churches are around that area. Go visit, see what you can do in helping them. You can go on a mission. So your mission,
should you choose to accept,
is to go on a missions trip.
Dun, dun, dun.
And we just have a list of the countries. So this year, we're going to Africa in the middle of the year. So if you want to go, start preparing for that. Let Pastor Phil know. There's all those African countries, and then the Philippines is also in December. So you have 2 main opportunities to go on a missions trip. Or if you know of other missions trips, then go on it as well. But these are the ones that Turning Point does. So please do it. Thank you so much for having us.